Greetings from Citizen Health and the Team Academy IAPSME Connect. And today, in the series of People's Health That Matters, we have Dr. Nasreen Banu Laskar, and who is a professor in Department of Community Medicine, Sikkim Manipal Institute of Medical Sciences, Gangtok. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am, on behalf of all the audience.
Thank you, Ritu. It's my pleasure to be associated with this e-platform of IPSM, and I look forward to several such endeavors even in the future.
Thanks to you, ma'am, for discussing on such a topic, which is a very discussion for the need of an hour, actually, because it's a topic which is need a very awareness in the society. So I would like to tell everyone that today we are going to talk about the cervical cancer and the prevention of it. Many of us may not know about cervical cancer, what is actually. So today we have Dr. Nasreen, who will tell us that what is the seriousness of this disease and how we can prevent it if we can. So ma'am, I would like to start the session with the very first question, that what is cervical cancer?
Yes, Ritu, actually, we see that the moment we utter the word cancer, I think almost each one of us, we are very well acquainted with this term cancer. But when we go into the specificities, like if I say cervical cancer, when I say most of the females who are actually affected by this particular type of cancer, they are unaware of it, because breast cancer is something which has quite a lot of awareness among everyone, even the females. But when it comes to cervical cancer, very little is known, and this is one of the reason why you find that the diagnosis is pretty late in case of this particular cancer. So this cancer, it is a you can say it's a type of cancer which affects the lower part of the uterus in females, और मतलब जो महिलाओं का जो गर्भाशय ग्रीव है, जो योनि से जोड़ता है, निचला भाग जो है गर्भाशय का, उस भाग में जब कोशिकाएं असामान्य तरह से बदलती हैं, उनमें कैंसर होता है, तब हम उसको सर्वाइकल कैंसर बोलते हैं. तो ये खास तौर पे खाली महिलाओं में ही होता है. तो usually, and females are the ones who usually we tend to overlook our health. So that is another reason which contributes to the seriousness of this particular disease. So we need to take special care for that. Yes.
Right, very true that females are the one who overlook the health. So how can a person determine that she is having a problem? Means what are the previous sign and symptoms for this disease?
Yes. Now, in most cases, we find that cervical cancer takes quite a long time to express itself or to get detected. So, mostly females, we usually we overlook minor signs and symptoms which may occur, which we confuse with even other diseases. Like there might be pain during menses, there could be pain during the sexual intercourse, there could be even prolonged periods, और जो मासिक धर्म होता है उसमें बहुत महिलाओं में क्या होता है, वो काफी लंबे दिनों तक चलता है. So normally what we do when it continues for a long time, many a time what happens is that, okay, maybe this time it is prolonged, maybe next time it will be okay. So that is the should I say the thinking of the female. So because of this we tend to overlook. But common signs which may be detected, this is one of the common signs: very much prolonged bleeding during the menstruation, or there may be intermenstrual bleed between two menstrual cycles. There could be excessive bleeding. In some females, towards the later part, there could be a very foul smelling vaginal discharge, which could be watery discharge, or in some it could be even a blood streaked discharge. So these are the common signs or the warning signals which we should. In addition, we find that there could be repeated history of STIs or already diagnosed infection in the vagina, which could also, this pre-existing history also should increase the suspicion level among females to, so as to get themselves checked if they are experiencing any of these which I have said, like pain, excessive bleeding, not detected or encountered previously. So if such instances take place, then it should ring the warning bell.
Right, ma'am. So you are saying that a pain during menstruation, pain in the vaginal part
So,
or in the stomach?
no, what I'm saying is that abnormal pain just after menstruation or maybe intermenstrual excessive pain, because normally also females experiences pain during menstrual cycle. So it should
Hmm.
not be confused with that. That thing we have to keep in mind. It should not be confused with the dysmenorrhea, which we refer to as. So it should not
Right.
be confused with that. However, if there is excessive pelvic pain, post menstruation pain, pelvic pain, pain during sexual intercourse, or even pain after sexual intercourse, if the female experiences, then this pain occurring during these instances should be taken more seriously.
Right. And ma'am, one thing I would like to ask that we must have heard a very normally vaginal washes. There are so many vaginal washes. Should we use them or should we avoid them?
No, no, no. I will not say that do not use or use. Only you're supposed to use it under the advice of a practitioner. Do not inadvertently resort to use of any vaginal wash. Only if advised, if prescribed, then you can go for vaginal washes. But inadvertent usage for anything without consultation should be avoided.
Okay, ma'am. And as you have said that prolonged menstrual cycle. So if there means, I mean, whatever signs you have told us. So any signs, if anyone see that any signs or symptoms is matching with hers, so should she go to the direct to gynecologist too or to oncologist?
No, in the first, in our country, if you see, talking about our country, not everyone or every female has immediate access to a gynecologist. So, what I will advise is that you should approach the nearest health facility which is there. It could be a primary health center, so at least you can get yourself screened initially. That is more important. Okay, instead of just getting some over the counter drugs or approaching any say unqualified person or approaching a quack, I will say first you go to the nearest health center, nearest health facility. You have consult the medical officer out there, and as advised, you can then here too, you can approach the gynecologist if you have access. I mean, if you are in a city or you have a gynecologist in the health center, definitely I'll advise you consult the gynecologist, and then they will be the best person to refer you to the next level, that is the oncologists. Because this way, by this following this route of referral, you'll also be avoiding extra burden upon the individual as well as the family.
Right. So, ma'am, I am asking that is this excessive bleeding can be confused with the menopause also? Because I have heard that before menopause time, a woman may feel or may experience a heavy bleeding.
Yes, yes, definitely. It may be confused with the menopausal bleeding or the premenopausal bleeding when many females they experience what we refer to as menorrhagia. It may be confused with that also. So best is in any instance, any such instances or any such occurrence, it should be best is to get yourself consulted by a physician or should I say, a health provider, in which whoever is available in your nearest health facility, and then, but not to go into, say, not to practice any sort of self medication. That is what I would recommend. Definitely, it may be confused. So to remove that confusion, best is go for a
Mhm.
consultation.
Right, ma'am. And is there any prevention for this?
For cervical cancer, yes, definitely we can prevent. Like cervical cancer is one of the we can say what we refer to as it's a type of cancer which is very much related with lifestyle also. Although the commonest cause is a viral infection, no doubt in the majority of the instances cervical cancer is caused due to HPV persistent infection with the virus, that is human papilloma virus. But to the severity or the aggravation is brought about by some number of practices. our lifestyle behaviors. Like you can say females who are happy, indulging in or having more than one sexual partner, multiple sexual partners, early marriage. What happens in case of early marriage, we are exposing ourselves to a very prolonged sexual life. So the risk of repeated infection by this virus increases. Even when we are having multiple sex partners, we are exposing ourselves to this risk from repeated infections. So these, then again, smoking also aggravates or increases the chances or risk of this particular cancer. So all these are lifestyle related. So I will not say that always if we adopt or if we have a very, should I say, healthy lifestyle, we will not suffer from cervical cancer. Even the reverse is also true, that all, sometimes even after having an unhealthy lifestyle, we may not suffer from cervical cancer. But definitely these lifestyle practices, they have a very positive influence if practiced in the right way in reducing the risk, in preventing this particular disease. So we have to bring about a change in our lifestyle. In addition, nowadays we have, say, the screening against cervical cancer is something which the government as well as various private organizations and NGOs, they are also promoting. So the screening has to be practiced, because screening is something, it's a, you can say it's a step towards which facilitates the early detection. So if detected early, since it is curable, it is treatable. So I feel we should also go for regular screening, because these screening facilities are nowadays available in a primary health center, because the government is pledged towards eliminating cervical cancer. So I think we should avail these facilities, and by taking these very simple steps, these are something very, we don't need to expend a lot. So we can adopt these practices, healthy practices, by which we can protect ourselves.
I have heard about the vaccines also, ma'am. Is there any vaccines also for the cervical cancer prevention?
Yes, vaccines are available. As of now, we have vaccines which are available for, which is being made available for females in the age group of, say, 9 to 14 years. Vaccine is being provided, and 2 doses of the HPV vaccine is there. However, it is not available in all government health facilities. And in India, in Sikkim and Punjab, it is 100% provided from the government, in the government sector itself. 2 doses of the vaccine are being provided to females between 9 to 14 years of age at an interval of 6 months. And for females more than 15 years of age, up to 26 years, 3 doses are recommended. So this, in the private sector, we can get it on payment basis, but through the government sector, if we see, it is only in these 2 states that it has been made available. And for those about 26 years, however, vaccine is not very much efficacious in preventing, since the sexual activity or the sexual life already starts. That is why we do not recommend in that particular age group.
Are these vaccines very costly?
Yes, that is why it has been still not very costly. Still, I will say majority of the Indians, where we see, we are now talking about minimizing out of pocket expenditures and all those. So from that point, if we see that we still are in a, we cannot say that each one of us can avail, not extreme degree costly, but still majority of the females, I mean the population where we say they are below the poverty line, we're talking about the poor getting extra. So in that case, I'll still say there is a lot of, and the cost is comparatively is high. So in the private sector, they can procure, but the government is pledged to provide it on free of cost through the government services which are available. So in the next, in a very short period, should I say a few years, we will see that it being made available, since already we have started it. So that is already a good sign that very soon we'll be having, everyone will have access to these vaccines.
Great, great. That sounds great, ma'am. And I would like to ask the last question: that is there any age specific? Is this a age specific disease, or it can happen to any age?
Yes, this was, yes, it's a very important issue, because when we say that we have to know about a disease, the first thing which comes to everybody's mind is, am I also susceptible to this disease? Yes, it is an age specific disease, commonly seen in females above 30 years. Okay, up 30 to 35, 30 to 44 years, females are the ones who are at increased risk. Although in some instances we may find it less than in females who are less than 30 years, but we rarely see the disease in females below 21 years of age, because this disease, it takes quite a long time to develop. It takes a minimum of 10 to 15 years to develop. So normally after 30 years is the age, and the highest peak, if you want to say, would be around 44 to 55 years, where we find the maximum incidence of this particular disease. And up to 65 years, it is very, very common. I mean, when we talk about female cancers, it is quite common in that particular age group.
Right, ma'am. Thank you so much for giving me all these details. These are really so much important and so much useful. I must say that this video is going to be very much popular among the people because it has an awareness about the cervical cancer. Any last message to the audience, ma'am?
Yes, thank you, Ritu. It was a very nice thing that you gave me this opportunity to talk, because uh, our health is in our hand. So I would like to let my female friends out there know that every time, if you want to take care of our family members, if you want to take care of our children, if you want to take care of our near and dear ones, the first thing is that we should take care of ourselves, and that we can do right sitting at home. We need not go out. So what we can do, we can always go for a healthy lifestyle, avoid smoking, indulge in regular exercises, maybe 15 to 30 minutes of exercise at home, a healthy lifestyle, have a balanced meal, because nutrition goes a long way in protecting ourselves. And always have a healthy, health seeking behavior. Go for, whenever you have any doubt about your health status, always go to the nearest health center. Do not delay. Most important thing, do not delay. The moment you're suspecting something, you're suspicious, please approach the health facility. Don't approach anyone, just directly go to the nearest health center. That's my advice. That's my request to each one of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for talking with us. It was really very nice session with you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for having.
Thank you. Thank you, Ritu. Thank you. Thank you.